Think of the passion, God love everlasting. Keep the law of the land and book in case you're asking. Moving forward to the learning and it's free. Cause I know that God know the combo. Go with Sista E. Love talk Sista E. God work Sista E. Charity Sista E. Let's talk with Sista E. All different type of information every week. Let me speak. If you subscribe, we going deep. Love talk Sista E. God's work Sista E. Charity Sista E. Let's talk with Sista E.
Hey, family, what's going on? How are y'all doing today or this evening? I hope everybody is doing fine. How is everybody? Give me a one in the chat. What's going on? Give me a one. Y'all, it's been an eventful past couple of weeks. So, if no one knows, I've been kind of offline for the past couple of weeks. My mom had my heart attack. With that, interesting enough, me and my daughter were actually out of town because we were hanging out, and my sister called me and was like, "Mom's legs are swollen. We gotta take her. I gotta take her to the hospital." And then we later on found out that her heart had fluid around it, and it led to her having a mild heart attack. So we've been going through that for the past 3 weeks. There was a point where some doctors was taking us to the side and having that conversation. Me and my sister prayed about it, asked the Father, you know, Father, if it's up to me, I don't want her to go anywhere. I want my mom to live a long life. Um, just a pray the prayer for her. So she recovered. She made a big turnaround. And when she made that turnaround, she came back to herself. We she got her memory back, some of her memory back. They in fact they said that if we would have waited a little bit longer and not taken her to the hospital because of the fluid, it would have then turned into a stroke. It was about to go into that place of the dangerous place of a stroke. So y'all keep us in your prayers. She's out the hospital. She was discharged on Friday, and now she's in a rehabilitation facility to get her strength back, get her back to fully walking. She can walk somewhat, but we have to kind of make sure that we are around so she don't fall, or we kind of help her get around where she doesn't hurt herself. So with that being said, just keep us lifted, y'all. I'm a little tired more so than anything because Lord, you know what it means when you go into a hospital and sleeping and staying in a hospital. Me and my sister, the first week my sister was in the hospital with her because I was trying to get to Memphis. We were all the way in Maine when we found out what was happening. So we no, she's not stressed. She misses my dad a lot, and I think that's some of it. But right after my sister was there in the hospital and sleeping in the hospital for a week, then I stayed in the hospital and get to pull out bed. So me and my sister was rotating, but I ended up taking like the majority of the second week as well. But my sister was able to step in on the second week. So you know what it means when you at them hospitals. They coming in and out of the room all night long. You can't sleep. I tell people the hospital is not made for you to sleep. Not even for the patient that's trying to get well. They don't. And I'm like, part of getting well is resting, right? I had a nurse to tell me that, and this is a friend of mine that's a nurse. She told me, she said, sometimes they look at resting, you can rest at home. They keep poking and prodding and all that. And it's just like, they treat sick people like they're experiments. And I literally had to tell them, look, you can't tell me y'all need to draw this much blood. But because she was on blood thinners, they have to constantly check her blood for the type of blood thinner she was on. So it's just been a long, y'all. It's been long. It's been long. So yeah, they are. They vampires. They constantly just. I'm like, y'all are not that much in need of blood all day long. I was exhausted and I knew she was. So she's in a rehab facility now. And then I came back home and came back home to, take care of a few things. And then I'm going to go back in the next 2, 3 weeks. My sister's going to take it. So y'all just keep us lifted, keep me lifted, keep my sister lifted, keep my daughter lifted, keep everybody in my family in prayer because we just lost my dad a year and a half ago. So this is a lot. It's a lot on us. It's a lot on her as well. So uh so that's the reason why I'm kind of moving a little slow today. I'm moving a little slow. I actually took some more days off this week, even though I'm not at home, but just took some days off just to sleep in and don't go straight to work. So how's everybody doing in the house? What's going on with everybody? It's a lot going on, y'all. I hadn't really been watching the news because I I wasn't playing the TV too much. Uh, Jesus, y'all, forgive me. Let's see what's going on in the news, y'all. Y'all, it's a lot going on with these tariffs. So the biggest thing I kind of wanted to talk about, they were talking about low food shortage that they're expecting due to the tariffs. Did y'all see in California the port, the port in California, and it looked as if there was no food. Let's look at it. Let me see. LA ports. I'm gonna play it. LA ports empty. Let me say fair use. Fair use, fair use. Let me read the fair use thing. Hold on. Get to my little fair use disclaimer. Let's see. Photos. That's where my disclaimer is, y'all. I gotta move a little fast. I know. Okay, here we go. Fair use. So, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, new reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So, fair use. Fair use. This is for education and research purposes only. So, let me put my little thing up here. Fair use under there. I want to change the color to that too. Hold on. I'm going to change that little banner. Oh, let me change the banner. Okay, let's see. Why are my banners blue? I want to change my banners to purple. Hold on. Bear with me. Let me see. I'll change it another day. Oh, here we go. Style. I like purple. There we go. Let's go. So let me do this real quick and I'm going to play this video. There we go. That's my color. So here we go. I'm going to play this fair use. This video is going to be played for research purposes only. So here we go. I forgot they're going to play commercials.
China denying it is in negotiations with the United States to resolve the ongoing trade war as members of the Trump administration insist the U.S. is better positioned to win that economic battle after President Trump imposed a massive 145% tariff on imports from China.
And that standoff now hitting closer and closer to home. Gene Soroka, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, the #1 container port in the Western Hemisphere, warns that difficult decisions are ahead as the port a 35% decrease in arriving cargo should the trade war continue.
Gene Soroka, executive director of the Port of LA, is in studio. Gene, thank you for being with us tonight. Liberation Day, of course, was April 2nd. When you talk about the global supply chain, nothing is instant. There's a lag. So here we are about a month out. Where do things stand, and what are these difficult decisions that you foresee in the weeks ahead?
Michael, we're starting to see the imports lighten up. In fact, by next week, as Shared just reported, we'll be down by about 35% year over year. Effectively, imports from China have been shut down because the cost is now 2.5 times more than it was for a product just last month.
So how does the president's 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs impacting orders and shipments and traffic?
Well, a little bit of a breather, Share. It's not a long runway in our industry.
Yeah.
Typically, importers here in the U.S. put their orders into factories in Asia about 3 to 4 months ahead of a ship even leaving, coming our way. So that's not going to change a lot of behavior. And still, it's 10% more than it was last month with those 75 or so countries, especially those in Southeast Asia. We talk a lot about China, which is on everybody's mind now, but it's countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, which also trade a lot with us.
Well, let's put this into some context that folks at home and all of us really can relate to. How does this outlook compare to the peak of the situation during COVID?
Different, but you could see some similarities. One, we're going to see a steep drop, Micah, in the arrivals that are coming in. That's going to mean that suddenly our truck drivers aren't hauling containers. Our dock workers aren't getting overtime or even turning to. They'll probably work less than a 40-hour work week. Along with those in the supply chain, even manufacturers aren't going to be shipping out as much. And that's where it's really hit us in California. The retaliatory tariffs are really socking the American farmer and those here in the Central Valley of California.
We'll touch on the domino effect and the ripple effect of all of this in a moment, but nothing really is a done deal. And, you know, as the head of the biggest container port in the Western Hemisphere, what is the solution here? How do you foresee us getting out of this?
Well, it's early days, but we have seen a little bit of a crack in the door. Tim Cook of Apple went to Washington, and then suddenly we got a little bit of a reprieve on electronics.
Yeah.
2 major retail CEOs were in Washington last week to talk about the importance of their business. And just today we got word that we might see some loosening on the automotive sector. So it seems to be building coalitions, talking to the administration about the impacts on the ground could be a way to start seeing a little bit clearly about how we can have some segments here that can thrive.
So what kind of urgency is there or should there be for consumers when it relates to big ticket items? You mentioned the electronics, the furniture, apparels.
Well, this is where it's going to get interesting. Retailers, Micah, are telling me that they've got about 5 to 7 weeks of inventory remaining at normal levels. Now, that doesn't mean everything's going to go kaput, but if you're out there looking for a blue shirt, you might see 15 purple ones and maybe only 1 blue. Is going to start to narrow. And all indications are that prices will rise. These tariff costs, whether they be the 10% or the big ones from China, are going to be passed on to us as consumers.
Yeah, they're not going to take it themselves. They're going to pass it on to us. Now, last year, the Port of LA handled some $333 billion in cargo. Of that, $120 billion was from China. So I think the question here is, who needs who more? Do we need them more, or do they need us more?
I'd say the interdependencies are almost equal. China is America's factory, and our buying capability, 70% of our GDP is made up of consumer buying. I worked in China for about 4.5 years, still maintain great relationships there. And folks know that they need each other at the business level. Getting to this policy area, and especially in talks that have started off with a real thud across the international supply chain need to be put back on level setting. There's no way that we can afford to have the deals that we do today at the retail level. We love to buy, whether it's going to the store or online curbside pickup. The prices that we buy at are because of all the efficiencies that have been created in the manufacturing process overseas.
If we see these declines, talk about the ripple effects, not just at the port. You're talking truckers, you're talking store shelves.
Yeah, that's right. And then suddenly we're going to see a little bit different look on what the consumer actually does. A lot of families are starting to tighten the purse strings a little bit.
Yeah, and the interesting part with this, I tell people this, say like, oh, the U.S. is going into a recession. Can y'all hear me fairly good? Because I'm leaned back in my chair. Can y'all hear me? People tend to say, oh, the U.S., but if you know anything about economics, recession, this is how I see recessions. Recessions, I think, is more concentrated with an area, like the U.S. is in a recession. It becomes a problem when we go into a depression. In most cases, depressions, I think, are global. They're worldwide. So people have a tendency to say, oh, U.S. is going to fall. This is going to be a worldwide event. What people don't realize that U.S. is one of the biggest consumers. If you create a bottleneck within the U.S. and your consumption goes down, factories are not making money. China right now is at the point where they're having issues. People don't realize that. They're having issues. And then everybody's saying that, well, there's a lot of minerals and a lot of things within other nations like Africa. I said, well, you got to realize too as well, Africa has their own issues right now. They're still colonized in some areas. And everybody's talking about Abraham Trios. He's just within a segment. Now he's in a very wealthy segment of Africa, which is what in the area near Niger and those different areas. It's very much so, rich, mineral rich in area, but yet and still they have their own issues dealing with just internal warring and battling due to the colonizers going over there and stirring the pot. And then some of the things, the pot was already stirred before in some cases before the colonizer got over there. But yet and still, this is going to be a domino effect. People don't realize it. If your biggest consumer, yep, they are protesting because they're not getting paid. China is cutting up. Hot sauce, you in China right now. Tell me what the vibe is right now. But you may not be able to say anything because you can get in trouble. But yet and still, this is going to be not just within China, not just within the U.S. This is going to be on the world stage. This is going to be a worldwide event. When we go into a depression, the depression is going to impact the world. And the thing is, this is finna get ugly before it gets better. This can be the reason that countries go to war because ain't nobody making money. Because again, if the U.S. is not getting the goods they need or the services they need or access to things we like to purchase, if they don't have access to that, it's going to impact. We're one of the biggest consumers. How are they going to be able to maintain that? How are they going to maintain the GDP? All those things, and it's going to end up. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly, if anything. So if we go into a recession, which I think we're already in a recession. Hold on 1 second, y'all.
These tariffs are going to hit us right in the wallet. Does that change the direction a little bit of this U.S. economy, given we depend so much on that buying pattern of the U.S. consumer?
So you speak to a lot of retailers out there. You also have good relationships with people abroad as well, as you've mentioned. But when they're concerned, the retailers, what kind of inventory do we have here, and how long can they ride this out?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting and a little bit nuanced. The big box retailers that we all know and shop at did a pretty fair job of bringing inventory in early because they knew this day was possibly coming. That comes at a cost of additional money to spend on that, and as well as putting it in warehouses. But we have about 125,000 companies that import through the Port of Los Angeles on an annual basis. Most are small to mid-sized folks that couldn't necessarily do what the big guys did. They didn't bring in a lot of extra stuff, store it at a lower price to be prepared for this day. They're now grappling with, do I buy at these higher prices? How can I pass on this additional cost if I'm competing with the big retailers? So I'm kind of in this middle place right now that's really uncomfortable. And then we'll start getting into the seasonal goods, whether it's spring and summer fashion or the all-important year-end holidays.
Part of the goal of these tariffs, as you know, is to stoke domestic production. That takes time. What, in your view, would be the downstream impacts potentially for the port if that domestic production does come back?
If it does, you probably flip the entire conversation to an export-driven economy. That takes a little bit of planning from an infrastructure standpoint, lining up key participants in the supply chain, all of which can be done with a little bit of runway. But even if there was a decision to put a factory in the U.S. right now today, as we're talking, probably takes about 5 years.
Yeah.
And if it does open its doors, it's probably automated with robotics and very few workers. So this is something that we have to look at as a country, as an economy, and as a trading nation with a great deal of thought, and not necessarily just speed at which we get to frameworks of negotiations.
Lastly, before we go, is there a solution?
Yeah, I think it's building coalitions and trying to make sure that policymakers, both elected and appointed officials, understand the ground truth of what's happening. And there may be some good things that come out of this. If American exports can grow, I'm all for it. Protection of American jobs, even better. But we know that 90% of trade moves on water, and that's why it's so important to this port and city of Los Angeles.
Gene Soroka, Executive Director, Port of Los Angeles, thanks for coming in and bringing this into focus for us.
Great to see you both.
Thank you.
Now, for weeks, they have been sounding the alarm, and now officials at the ports of LA.
Y'all, I kid y'all not. I'm gonna play this one too as well. I'm glad it cued into this video. We're gonna play this one video and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about this. Y'all smash that like button. Thank you so much, little sis Octoria, to get people to hit that like button and share. But I'm gonna play some more. Hold on. This is the next video I want to play.
And Long Beach say the consequences of President Trump's tariffs have officially arrived. KCAL's Luz Delia Caballero spoke to drivers picking up cargo at the ports about the economic disruptions already being felt.
Traffic on land is lighter than usual at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach.
I started to see like the decrease on the cargo getting out of the ports.
Loreto Duarte, a truck driver based in Fontana, says initially he wasn't really concerned about the impact of the tariffs, but this last week something changed.
Almost every day you see lines, like half hour, an hour long lines. Past week, nothing.
Bottom line is less ship traffic means less cargo, and less cargo for Duarte means
us as truck drivers, we're moving less freight, and less freight means less money.
Others, though, feel traffic is always fluctuating at the ports, and these tariffs are a step in the right direction for the economy.
No, I'm not worried about it.
Alex Gutierrez is a truck driver based in Bakersfield and says it's about time the U.S. imposes tariffs on other countries.
I think things are going to get better in the future. We believe this administration is doing a good job. It's just that it's going to take a little time.
Adding truckers have already weathered many crises in the past.
Right now it might be slow, but we've been through this a lot in the ports. You know, there's some months that we got really slow, and some other months we are really busy.
The port of Long Beach is getting hit hard because a big chunk of the incoming traffic is from China. And President Trump slapped China with tariffs of up to 145% on imported goods, though the Trump administration says they're working to close trade deals with China and other countries. A spokesperson from the neighboring port of LA sharing these stats with us, showing in May 17 vessel cancellations due to tariffs, with 224,000 container units also canceled, which is a 25% decrease, with more cancellations expected. And in June, at the port of LA, so far, 12 vessel cancellations due to tariffs, and more cancellations are expected.
Hopefully everything gets sorted out, and we're going to be back working like we used to.
At this point, only time will tell. In Long Beach, Luz Delia Caballero, KCAL News.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. Hold on. I'm trying to Madison's talking to me. She walking in the house. But y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all something. With these tariffs and all this stuff that's going on at these ports, it's gonna be a straight domino effect. Um and the thing is, I agree. But everybody's gonna feel it. Remember that this is gonna be, I want everybody to realize the no longer are financial impacts siloed. Remember that we had something that came into the financial world called globalization. That was the hot topic when I was in college. Globalizing. If you weren't talking about globalization, you were not going to be able to sustain yourselves as a company. So everything moved from being more siloed to more global. And because of globalization, these things become interconnected. People don't realize these countries and financials become interconnected. They become dependent upon each other. One needs the other to survive. If you want to if you want to sell your goods, guess what? You got to sell it somewhere. Where your biggest consumer? Your biggest consumer is one of your bigger consumers, right? Is in the U.S. And then when you break that off, you still have. And have y'all heard that because China don't want to have no act right with these companies? India has come in and said they're gonna support. So you're getting ready to have beef between India and China. When I saw that, I said this. I'm sorry, that's a problem right there. So hold on. Play another video. Hold on, y'all. Let me show y'all what's going on in China. Bear with me, good people. Hold on. Where is it? Hold on. My computer is moving extra slow, so my apologies. What is this? Huh? You at the door? Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Let me let my daughter in. Hold on. Bear with me. Let me let her in. She left her key. All right, here we go, y'all. Let me play the other video. Okay, so I'm going to play this video. Fair use, fair use. So let me play this. Fair use, fair use. Now, this report came out. What date did this come out? They ain't giving me the date. Y'all see the date on this? When did this come out? 5 days ago. So here we go. I'm playing it.
Guangdong province in southern China is a manufacturing powerhouse. Landing in the provincial capital, Guangzhou, signs of China's economic ties to the US are all around, from Boeing planes on the tarmac to the busy Starbucks coffee shop. But despite the very visible presence of these well-known American brands, China ships much more to the US than it imports. US President Donald Trump wants to fix that in part by slapping high tariffs on Chinese goods. Dalang town, 2 hours' drive from the capital, has been hit hard by those levies.
If you happen to have a wool sweater in your wardrobe, it's likely one of them was made here. Dalong produces about 20% of the world's wool sweaters, and many factories, like this one, export to the US.
This plant produces millions of Christmas sweaters annually, a third for the US market. American retailers purchased each garment for $8, selling them on to American consumers for about $40. That was before the new tariffs. The owner says all of his American customers have recently canceled their orders. He's allowed us to film here, but is afraid to appear on camera and talk about what he says has become a sensitive political issue. Outside, we discover why. Many smaller factories are closed and have been forced to lay off employees.
There are so many factories here, but many of them are firing workers. It's hard to find a job.
Businesses here struggled to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. For some, the new tariffs were the last straw.
There are no orders now, so we don't need workers. We will hire workers when there are orders.
We drive back to the city to find out how other exporters are dealing with higher US tariffs. The Canton Fair is a biannual trade show helping Chinese manufacturers find customers overseas. Many are now scrambling to find new markets. Sarah Shao creates custom housing fixtures for American clients who she says are just as shocked by the tariffs as she is.
This is the things is going crazy, and they cannot believe it. The Trump did this behavior, but they are holding their project right now. They are not moving. I don't think the trade war will bring winner. Or if this tariff war keep going, I think all these countries are losers.
But there could be winners. Buyers from other countries may have an opportunity to order goods at better prices, like Saleh Salama from Saudi Arabia.
My cousin and I arrived with the business and idea, and when we saw what's available, it's completely different than what we planned. It's like you're looking at the biggest catalog in the world. You're looking at something and the varieties are endless.
Endless varieties of goods produced in China every day. Most exporters here believe they'll find new customers eventually. But whether the US can find replacements for the same supplies, they're not so sure. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera in Guangdong, China.
Well, earlier I was
Y'all, this is going to be an interesting time. I'll say that much. It's going to be interesting. Let me stop sharing to see what's going to happen, because I really believe this is going to lead to a war. This is going to lead to a war. Now, one of the other things that I'm noticing in the news, now going back to Africa, I know that Africa now through Abraham, I hope I'm saying, Tiro, I think I'm saying that like Trira. I hope I'm saying that right. Some of the nations are starting to come together. Now that could come back and bite them. Ultimately, it could come back and bite other countries with the natural resources. But again, that's going to lead to war as well. War is coming. End of discussion. A world war is coming. Through what's going on there with the tariffs, you got the issue with Iran threatening the U.S. and Israel. The Israel fire going on right now, and then they running over to Gaza, and they finna take a. It's a lot, y'all. Do y'all notice there's so much going on? Abraham, that's what I'm gonna call him. That's his name, Ibrahim. I'm gonna call him that, Ibrahim. I won't call him Abraham though, y'all. That's what I want to call him, but it's Ibrahim. I won't call him Abraham. So, war is inevitable. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of when. And it's not a matter of just one. This is going to be on the world stage, and we're gonna sit and we're gonna watch it go down. It's finna go down, y'all. It's going down, and there's nothing. It's nothing nobody can do. Nothing nobody can do. Right now, they're in the thick of the things, and what's going on. If the stock market continually crashes, and U.S. and China keep going back and forth with these trade wars, something is bound to pop off. I'm wondering, are we gonna make it through the summer before the war happens? Because I think before every war, I think the U.S. was going into a financial. I think right around the Great Depression, either before or after, we were going into a war. But war is coming. War is coming. And right now, even with Trump, you're getting ready to see some internal wars, because the world, no matter what people say, even though Trump's approval polls have went down, it hasn't went down to the point that the majority rule is still kind of split. If they remove Trump for whatever reason, that's why they haven't tried to move the nigga. I'm gonna be honest. They ain't tried to move him because they know if they make that type of executive decision to attempt to move him in any form or fashion, you're going to cause another pop-up war. It's so much going on, y'all. I'm actually I spent less time last week watching the news because of what was going on. But what I would do is when she would go to sleep, but mom, when she would go to sleep in the hotel, I would just go and look on my phone, like on YouTube. I go look at a little CNN. I go look at a little TikTok to see what's going on, to kind of keep up with everything. And one thing I do see, I said, war is coming. You got China and Russia sent troops to protect. So you got that going on with Ibrahim. I'm saying it right. Ibrahim. You got that going on. It's a lot, y'all. Let's look at what's going on here. Okay. Let's see. Then not to mention China is beefing with Israel too, quiet as it's kept. So let's see. Hold on. Here we go. I'm trying to find that article I saw. I may have to come back around. Like I said, y'all, I am going to be off tomorrow. So because of that, I'll be able to do some more stuff. Let me see. Hold on. Where's that video? I may have to look for it another day, and it may have been on TikTok. But with that being said, it is coming and it is inevitable. I don't plan to be disconnected from watching what's going on. This is the time for us to watch. That's why I was like, let me watch this while I have a chance. So let's see. Iran and Israel. That's what I want to look it up. So you got that going on. And then here we go. trying to find a valid. This is it right here. It is. Y'all know that Iran just unveiled the new missile, which can beat U.S. Shield. Have y'all heard about that? I'll play this for y'all. Yeah, there's so much going on. I don't know how to. Did somebody say my coconut water and popcorn? Coconut water. Oh my goodness. Coconut water. Coconut water. Coconut water, sis. Oh my goodness. And popcorn. That is too funny. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna play the video.
Iran has unveiled a new ballistic missile, Qasem-Basir, which it claims can bypass the US's THAAD anti-ballistic defense system. Footage released by the Iranian state TV showed the missile being test-fired at an unknown location. Iran claims the missile has a range of up to 1,300 kilometers. Now, speaking to Iranian state TV after unveiling the ballistic missile, Defense Minister Nazizadeh warned that Iran will hit U.S. bases in the region if a war is imposed on Iran.
If we are attacked, if a war is imposed on us, we will give a powerful response. We will attack their interests, their bases, without any reservations or limitations. We have no hostility towards neighboring countries. They are our brothers, but American bases are our targets.
Amidst rising tensions and delay in the next round of talks, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that the goal of the negotiations with Iran is to achieve the full dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program. The statement assumes significance as it is the first time that Trump has outlined the ambitious goal since nuclear talks began with Iran. However, Trump added that he is open to hearing arguments in favor of Iran having a civilian nuclear program, an idea that is fully supported by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Meanwhile, Iran-backed Houthi rebels reported around 10 strikes in and around capital Sana'a. According to Houthi Health Ministry, at least 14 people were wounded in the American strikes. The American strikes come a day after a missile launched by Yemen's Houthis struck Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport. The rebel group has now pledged fresh strikes on Israeli airports. In a video statement, Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sarea warned that the rebel group would repeatedly target the Ben Gurion airport and will impose a comprehensive air blockade.
The Yemeni armed forces announced that they will work to impose a comprehensive air blockade on the Israeli enemy by repeatedly targeting airports, most notably Lod Airport, known in Israel as Ben Gurion Airport.
The following threats from the Houthis, major airlines including German carrier Lufthansa, France's Air France, U.S. carrier Delta, and Hungary's Wizz Air have cancelled their scheduled flights to Tel Aviv. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to respond to the Houthis and its patron Iran for the missile attack. Speaking alongside Cyprus President.
That's too funny, Phantom. I kept saying, why is he yelling? He was yelling, baby. I said, why is it yelling? He got a lot of energy. Whatever he drinking, stop drinking it, sir, because you ain't got to yell in the mic. That's the purpose of a microphone. So you don't have to yell. He yelling over the mic. They just shut the mic off for him. They said, this dude yells. They didn't track me enough. They just said, cut it off. Cut it off. Hold on.
And Netanyahu warned that Israel will take strong action and give Iran a due warning.
As far as the trade routes, obviously we're being challenged. The whole world is being challenged by the Houthis, including in the dastardly attack they did today near Ben Gurion Airport. We will not tolerate it.
Responding to Netanyahu's threat, Iran's defense minister Aziz Nasrizadeh said that Iran will strike back if attacked by U.S. or Israel. In an interview to Iranian state TV, Nasrizadeh warned that Iran will target Israeli and American interests wherever they may be. Meanwhile, at least 19 people were killed in 2 Israeli strikes on Monday. According to Gaza Civil Defense Agency, an Israeli strike on 3 apartments in northwest Gaza killed 15 people, mostly women and children. One in Beit Lahiya, 4 people were killed, and an Israeli strike on a house.
Y'all, I am full talking and muted. If you're not subscribed to this particular channel right here, I think it's We On. They have great news. They have great information. I watch them for certain things because they report on certain things that you can't get on this mainstream news. I don't understand why CNN and all of them still exist because their work is, their news reporting is BS. Just give it to the Hebrew community. We'll do the news because y'all so frustrated about Trump. Y'all ignoring what's going on outside of Trump. Iran just created their own missile that can bypass U.S. security. That's some crazy work right there. That's some crazy work. Crazy work. They said this missile can bypass the U.S. shield. Y'all still arguing about Trump. Do we have other stuff we can report on? Trump is doing some crazy stuff. But Iran got a missile. A ballistic missile. And the more I watch Redacted, y'all, the more I'm not going to watch them. I really don't like Redacted sometimes. The Redacted wife said, because they're getting ready to try to pull money for student loans. She said, well, pay your student loans. Girl, if it was that easy, we could do it. Oh, I can't watch it. His wife get on my nerves. Oh, Jesus, his wife get on my nerves. Both of them do. I see a lot of white privilege with them. They have little white privilege ways about themselves. They give you some good information, but that air, you can see that air about themselves. So I haven't watched Redacted in a while. I can't take them too much sometimes. Some days they got some good stuff, but I just can't. Like when she said, get up and pay your student loans, taxpayers. I'm like, do taxpayers really get impacted by the fact we ain't paying our student loans? I don't think so. She irks me. She definitely irks me. They are low-key racist. I can't. I that's my thoughts. I can't watch them. I just can't. They irk me. I can't. I get that vibe like they are. They are per se. It might not be true. But I just think sometimes they just do little things where I'm just like, that's the pull yourself up by your bootstrap crew. I can't. I can't with Redacted. I used to like them. That wife irks the heck out of me. Baby, that wife irks me. She just, yeah. But with that being said, y'all, with these hard times, I think I'm finna get on my fussing post right now. I ain't gonna even fuss. I'm like, y'all, look. And the Most High is gonna sustain us in this. That's why you gotta look for internal groups. Everybody ain't got the financial ability to go out the country. And even when you go out the country, you have your own. Interesting enough, let me tell you, I met somebody at the hospital. Very nice lady. She's a physical therapist. Had a very thick accent, black lady. And she sounded African, but I was a little confused because it borderline sounded Russian a little bit. I said, I'm confused. So I said, where are you from? She says, I'm from an area. Hold on one second. I'm back, y'all. Um, I met her because she was helping my mom out, sweet as can be. And she said, I'm from this little area near Kenya. I said, what area? She said, Tanzania. Most people don't know nothing about Tanzania. I said, well, I do. I've heard of Tanzania. She said, please don't tell me you're trying to find land over there. I said, what? She said, please tell me you're not getting caught up in these land scams. Came from a citizen of Tanzania, born. I said, what you mean by land scams? She said, my sister. She said, and this is how she said, my sister. I had a conversation with a couple of Black Americans, and they say, when I tell them I'm from Tanzania, they get excited. Oh my gosh, you're from Tanzania. She looking at them like, but I'm here working. She said in so many words, and I don't want people to think I'm hating on nobody, but I wish somebody was like, I should have recorded her, but I'm not going to do that. She said, my sister, you can't get involved in anything if you don't understand the demographics of the country. She said, what's going on? And she didn't know me from Adam. She said, what's going on is a lot of these individuals are purchasing property from individuals that say that they're selling real estate, and they buy the land, and what happens is you'll buy somebody else's land, in so many words, or it ends up being a fake sale. She said, my sister, the only way you can truly buy land in Tanzania is you have to go through the government and make it seem as if you have to have something like you're investing in, you have an investment. And she said the amount of money that you have to put in, she said you can't have $10,000. You can't have $50,000. She said, you got to have almost a quarter $250,000. You got to have money. She said, because it costs a lot of money to maintain this land. And you have to go through the government. The woman didn't know me from Adam, y'all. And I sat there and we were sitting in the hospital. I said, you don't say. She said, yes. She said, sister, a lot of you all are going over there and y'all are getting scammed. These people are telling you, oh, come back to the motherland. She said, I don't even trust my own people over there. She said, one of the best ways that people are able to survive is she said, the only ones that really, really, really can do it is individuals that have connections, very close connections, and very close ties with people to be able to understand the demographics. And I know people are saying T3 and me are doing great. Do a little bit more research on that, sis, because I'm getting other information, but I'm gonna leave it right there. But with that being said, this is what she said. She said, and she did bring this up. She said, you have the YouTubers. Now, keep in mind, y'all, and I'm not telling y'all this because I'm trying to tell y'all not to go. Y'all do whatever y'all want to do. She said, you have to, these YouTubers, she said, they be involved. This is what she said. She said, some of them that have these YouTubes and telling people to go be advised. She said some of them are sometimes involved in illegal activities. I'm not saying them, I'm just saying this is what she said. She said there's so many illegal activities. She said even like drug trafficking and all types of stuff. And she said they get involved with these underground networks, and y'all have no idea. She said that some of these YouTubers ain't really showing you the big picture. And when she said it, I said, wow. Now this is a woman. She said, I have land. She said, but I'm a citizen. I was born in Tanzania. She said, but I don't be there all the time. She said, but I have to go home. She said, because I don't even trust my own family to watch my house in Tanzania. I said, wow. She said, it's a lot of corruption. Are you downstairs, Rio? Yeah, I'm not trying to bust people's bubbles. But this is coming from somebody that is from that land, y'all. That is a citizen of Tanzania. This lady, she says, people come to me, oh, want my sister. Why don't you stay in the motherland? She said, why? She said, I'm here. She said, you all are running from what? Y'all going to leave the U.S. and then go into some more corruption. I said, dang. Me and this, every time I saw her in the hospital, she would sing. She said, oh, my wonderful sister. And I'd be like, my sister, she said, make sure you tell the people, because I told her, I said, I need to tell some people in our community what's going on. She said, your community? I said, some of them are, going to Africa and they're trying to buy land. You cannot buy land that easy in Africa. She said that. She said it's even difficult for them sometimes. So they deal with their own corruption within their own country. She said you have to go through the government, y'all. This came from a citizen from Africa saying, when you do these type of investments, you have to go through the government. If you are not getting access to these lands through the government, through their protocols, question it. Just saying, y'all. I ain't trying to bust nobody's bubble. I'm not trying to upset people, but I thank the Most High that I met this woman, and it was just her accent. It sounded different. And what I'm realizing, when you get closer to East Africa, the accents change. And sitting down talking to her, she didn't know me from Adam, y'all. She didn't know me from Adam. She said, why are you all running to a place where it's corruption there? She said, it's corrupt. She said, and you all buy this land and then find out that the contract is not what you think it is because you're going through a third party. You cannot go through a third party to purchase land in Africa. She said the best approach is you have to go through the government. I said, I ain't hearing nobody say they going through the government. I ain't heard nobody say. I've heard them say, oh, I'm working with this person. Oh, I'm sending money to this group. Oh, I'm doing and this, and she said, y'all are coming over there with $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, and then come back home broke. She said, the thing is with these big investment firms, you're gonna lose before you win. This is her words. She said you're going to lose because you got to understand the laws. You have to understand the regulations. You have to go here. You have to do that. And then she said, after you make mistakes. She said, and once you make those mistakes, you lose some money. These are her words, y'all. So I don't know why I'm here, but that just popped up in my head with what she just said. She said, but she said, please don't tell me you didn't invest it. She said, please don't tell me you've invested some money in there. So now I have not invested my money. And she said the sad part is the elderly are going over there. She said the elderly are having a hard time when they're going over there because she said this. She said, as much as you all complain about the US, she said, y'all have a better system when it comes to healthcare at times. Now, some places healthcare is free, some places. She said, do you realize that any doctor you visit, you're going to have to pay out of pocket? Another thing she brought up, she says, people say, oh, things are much cheaper there. She said, really, it's not cheap. She said, let's say $1 is worth a penny there. That bottle of water or this soda is going to be uppriced to be $1. So it'll be $1 is just is a penny. Think about that. She said, but it's worth a penny. She said, but you're gonna have to pay 100 pennies to get that drink. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that makes sense. So she was like, it's not really that cheap. It's just the value of that dollar is cheaper, but it's going to be uppriced to be the price of that dollar. She said, so you're not, it's not a win. So with that, y'all, that's all I'm saying is, I would say, if you are looking, and she said that, she said, tell your friends to stop looking at these YouTubers and look at how people, look at the government sites to see how they purchase land, how you have to invest. She said when she says that you have to go through the government, she said, yes. She said, they're not telling y'all that y'all have to go through the government and get, I think she said, like, they can give you so much of the price of the land and you have to go in as an investment firm. And I ain't saying I will be living out my life somewhere outside. Oh, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it, y'all. I'm not saying don't go. But what I'm saying is do your due diligence. I know Gardis is, and I know all of y'all are, before you do this. Because when she said, no, you cannot purchase land the way she said it so many words. In so many words, it's like lease land. Like you don't really own the land. You're just investing in the land. And I said, wow. I said, if I tell people this, they're gonna say, because people have in the YouTube ads that Sister E hate Africa. No, Sister E is not easily swayed to make a decision out of emotions. I try my best to be level-headed when it comes to business. Hold on. Okay, y'all, here I go. But on the YouTube streets is Sister E hate Africa. I don't hate Africa. I'm gonna do the same if I said I was moving to Thailand. I'm gonna do the same if I say I'm moving to China. I'm gonna do the same. If I'm leaving outside of the US, heck, I'm gonna do the same if I'm moving to another city. Moving to New York. She said you have to do your due diligence. She said, let's say you're moving from Memphis to New York. When she said Memphis to New York, she said it's even a process and a transition to understand the government and the laws and the culture there. And I said, wow, you said that. I said, that's interesting. I said, because you are right. Moving from Memphis to New York, it was a culture shock for me. It was different, very different. First thing that hit me was the amount of taxes New York take out of your paycheck, eat you up in taxes. So it's a lot. She says, so don't be swayed about what people are telling you. Go through, if you're gonna do it, she said, do it right. She said, and even then you have to be very careful with the government. She said, but if if you go and you do your due diligence, she said, what happens is these people get caught up in these situations and be in these lands that really ain't, they don't own it. I said, wow. She said they get caught up and they lose their money. She said, I've heard more people tell me about them losing money than winning. She said, now she did say, she said, there are some people that are successful, but she said, understand, a lot of them have money. They have money. They have consistent money, not retirement. They got money. And they're able to survive. She said, but somebody who takes $20,000 and say, I'm running to Africa, their money is going to be gone. She said they eat their money. That's what she's saying. The land or the country will eat their money. She kept saying that. Eating their money. She kept saying they're eating their money. That's what she kept saying. I said, eating them. She said, you're giving the money and they eat it up. And you don't get any return. You don't get anything. She said, I've been in the U.S. for 22 years. She said, I go home every year to check on my land. She said, if it was like that, I would be there right now. She said, if it was the way everybody, she said, everybody comes to me like, oh, my sister, why are you over here? You should be in Tanzania. That's just so. And she said there, she said, I'd be looking at them crazy like, do you understand what it means to live in Tanzania? How much corruption that goes on within some of these nations. She brought up Gambia too as well. She said, be careful with Gambia, because she said something about a lot of people are being murdered in Gambia. Didn't know that. She said, it's human trafficking going on over there. She says single women going over there, they're running over there, and then they get caught in situations where they get either they marry some man or they get caught in a situation where they come up missing. We're talking about how the elderly get sick over there and they have to pay for their health care out of their pockets. I was getting ready to say that. You have to pay for your doctors out of your pockets. Health care is not free over there. She said it's not like the U.S. People love to say, y'all love it over here in Babylon. Yeah, I worked hard. My ancestors worked hard so that we can have this system. So when I hear people say that, I'm like, you sound stupid. But with that being said, y'all, I don't want people again to say, oh, Sister E don't want you to go. But I feel like the Most High had me to meet her in the hospital and saw her every other day because she came to check up on my mom, but she also came to check up on me. And I think it was the Most High. And I think at first I wasn't gonna say nothing. I said, because I'm tired of telling people. But I said there was a reason why the Most High had me to meet this lady. And just she so happened to say she was from Tanzania. And then when I told her I've heard of Tanzania, she said, please don't tell. She instantly went to the fact of, am I one of those that's trying to move over there? Am I one of those that bought land over there? And she brought up the YouTubers. She said, a lot of these YouTubers are scammers. Be careful with them. She said, they'll tell you one side of the story and then get you over there. And you see a whole nother side. She said, they're not being truly honest. But she did say, like I said, I want to throw that out there. She did say, some people are successful. And I'm not going to say anybody can't be successful over there. But what I'm saying is, don't make that place your savior. And me and her was talking about that, about, how people say, oh, I'm getting away from the U.S. And she said, you're getting away from the U.S. and you're finna go to a country that's corrupt. You'll have to deal with the corruptions there. You can't make that place your savior. I know everybody's like, we're getting ready to go home. I want to go I want wherever the Lord take me. I'm not with that. But with that being said, she just said, just be careful. That's what she kept saying. Be careful. Be careful. Make sure you do your research. But she said, tell your friends. She didn't know I had a YouTube. Tell your friends that if they're looking to move to Tanzania, she said, I'm not saying they can't, but do it the right way. Go through the government and see how they can do it. Don't go through a third party vendor or a third party saying, oh, come over here and buy this land. And then what happens is two people end up owning the land, or it's not what you think it is. Those were her words. And she said, go through the government, get with the government and find out how to invest Keyword, she kept saying invest. She didn't say purchase, but invest. You have to go in as if you're investing or as an investor. She never said buy. She said as an investor. You can invest and not own it. So I would love to meet some people that actually live there. I want my people to be very informed. I don't want a group that's just going I don't want a group that's just going, oh, it's wonderful over here and don't tell you the hard part of it. We kind of skim over there really quick and then talk about we're going back to our own land, away from here. We're gonna be here. We're gonna be here, and really, it's about to go down all over the world. You see it in the news. It's about to go down in the world. This is not just within the U.S. It's about to go down, and Africa is actually going to be in the middle of it, I think. But with that being said, we're running out of fear. And I kid y'all not, when I was talking to this lady, I was just sitting there and I was like, how did we have this conversation? Let me see. I dropped the link. And she said South Africa is bad too as well. Everybody running to South Africa. Y'all, don't let none of these folks tell y'all something without you doing your research on your own. Even if I tell you something, if I say, hey, what about this? No, don't even take my word for it. Go do your own research. Go do your own research. Look into it. Look into it. Do your research. Figure it out. Don't let no man tell you how to invest your money. This is your money. Your hard-working money to tell you, well, give me this $10,000 and I'll look into the land and we can get you over here, and then you get done dirty. That's your money. Do your own due diligence. No. Don't lean on nobody in this YouTube community, because understand that we are just content creators. We are not government officials. Say it in the back room. We're not real estate agents, government officials, investors. We're content creators pulling other content creators into a conversation without the expert in the room saying these are the steps you need to take. Ask yourself this question. Have they truly had someone from Tanzanian government to come in and walk y'all through the process of investing? I want that to sink in. Has any representative got online and said, hey, y'all, I know a lot of y'all want to come over here. Let's do this. Let's have a class and I show you how to do it. Has anybody ever did that, y'all? Think about it. Think about it. I don't want to.
Africa really doesn't have that. Kenya does, but a lot of other places do not. In some place, like South Africa, also has like board of investors, Kenyan board of investing, and Ethiopia has it as well. But a lot of them don't. A lot of the countries don't have that. Like what you can invest in, what you can reduce your taxes in. What are the countries looking for? Tanzania has it as well.
Yeah,
they have it as well, like how to invest in things where the country's trying to go forward in, and they will help you with land and incentives. But when it comes to Africa, if you're looking for like peace and harmony and stuff like that, that's not the place to go. Africa right now is, if you can stomach it and you can deal with the loss, is more about export, right? Producing something there and export. I've made
Hold on one
friends.
second.
Yeah,
Make sure that it's not someone who lives there, because you'll have chiefs and you have individuals. I'm talking about somebody that works in their like their commerce or real estate, like real. When they say I'm bringing this person that
but
can
you
give
gotta
us insight, you got to look into it and who that person is.
like so for Kenya, it's something you can look online. It's called kininvest.gov, right? It's going to be the official website by the government. It's going to have Kininvest, and it's going to tell you what they're looking for people to invest in. That goes with the mission of the country. So it's called Kininvest, and that's for Kenya. Tanzania has one as well. You can Google it, and again, they'll tell you what they're looking for to invest. That kind of goes with the country. So, like for example, uh vegetable oil, and they're looking for people to invest in vegetable oil in Tanzania, and they're looking for people to invest in fish farms in Kenya. When you do that, you don't have to pay the what is it, the taxes for X amount of years and things like that, right? But you just go to the investment boards and look at what they are looking to do, and then you can get into that, right? But even with that, it's still kind of shaky because of land laws and stuff like that. Tons of scamming has gone on in Kenya. I've been friends with people in China for years, 5 years. I did my first business in Kenya with some of them. I got scammed, right? You got to understand something. In Africa, they have a very hand to mouth mentality. They only think about today. They don't think about the future, and that's a very dangerous person to do business with. You can find partners because eventually I did find a good partner to work with, but Africa is not the place where you're going to look for like a better life or something. It's just not that. If you're looking for better quality of life, things like that, like less business focus, you're better off going to Asia if you want to get out of America. You're much better as a black person going to Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, things like that.
But hey, I'm not knocking it. If that's the best route for our community, at this point, I'm not telling my people not to go to Africa. I'm telling them, do your due diligence and don't let any of us tell you. Don't let any of us take you in a room and tell you, hey, I have this person, he's done land. Look that person up, put their name online, find out their backstory. And I'm not saying that whatever, other people are doing, y'all talking about Ron and his invite. I'm not saying, anything outside of just do your due diligence.
Yeah, but you have, sorry,
Mhm.
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead,
Well,
Hassan.
I just want to say you have to understand the culture, and on the East you don't go against the government. So, like for example, I do business here in China as well, right? You do things that follows what where the government is moving, right? So yeah, so if you're trying to open up something and you don't see that on the investment board, 9 times out of 10 it's not going to be successful, right? The government over here picks the winners and losers, and that's just it, right? And even with that, you still are a possibility of scamming. But Africa is the last frontier, so it's really about people who are looking to take a high risk, high reward investments. If that's not you, if you're trying to look for a better place to stay, then Africa is definitely not going to be it. Because even in South Africa, right, tons of carjackings, and there's xenophobia there against other black people.
Let me show y'all something, and I just typed this in. And I'm only doing Tanzania because she brought this up. So right here it says that in Tanzania, foreigners can't directly own land. Instead,
Right.
you can acquire land rights through a process called derivative
leasehold.
derivative rights, which essentially grants them leasehold interest for 33, 66, or 99 years. This is
99 years.
usually this is usually done through the Tanzanian Investment Center after registering a project with them and securing the see.
Yeah, that's what I told you. Like you have to go to the
Yep.
government boards.
And this is just looking this up, y'all. Right here, it says a foreigner wishing to invest land in Tanzania needs to first register a project through them.
Yeah, so well the first step is to register your company, and it's
Mhm.
better if you have if first step is to register a company, then it's better if you have a company that's already registered that's looking to do projects in China. So I have my company registered in Hong Kong, and I've been doing business here. And then when I went to Africa, I just said I will open up a branch. That's going to be better. The government is going to respect you a little bit more also if you're coming as a company going to do business there. If you're looking to open up a company in Africa first, that's probably the worst mistake to do. in my opinion.
So let me tell you the misinformation of this statement right here. It says 99 years in Gambia too. You don't own land in America. Either pay taxes or pay taxes in American Babylon. You do own your land. That's your land. Yes, you do have to pay taxes, but what you're paying taxes for is
You don't have to after 99 years you have to reapply
yes.
in Tanzania. You don't have to do that in America. There's
You
no
don't.
reapply process.
Correct. That was the best way to put it. I think people need to do their research on what it means to own land within the US. I don't have to go and register. And look at this now. Pay attention to this, y'all. Take and the people, I don't know why I'm here, but we're here now. I understand how people feel right now. I definitely understand the fear and the understanding of, oh, this country is just falling apart. The world is falling apart. Let's clear that up right now. The entire world is falling apart. You got Spain and Portugal, the lights was off. That's the best way to put it. Africa right now is in the middle of multiple wars, internal fighting, not to mention the corruption. You got what's going on in Israel. You got fires in Israel. You got everybody is feeling it right now. China right now is somewhat feeling it because of what's going on with the trade
Oh
wars.
yeah. Can I speak to that a little bit? A little bit. I can speak to a little bit about that.
Okay,
So
let me finish this one statement. Hold that thought.
sure,
Okay,
sure.
but yet and still, when you purchase land in the U.S., you don't have to consider yourself to be a foreigner. Foreigners actually, once they get their citizenship, they buy land, they buy houses, they can. In Tanzania, they said all land in Tanzania. Now, I'm reading this line to you, y'all, and this is why you have to do your due diligence. All land in Tanzania is considered public land owned by the President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Foreigners cannot directly own land, but they can obtain the right to use it for investment purposes. So take it how you want how you want to take it. I mean, according to, if you want to go over there and take your chances, go ahead. But you got to do a lot to seize land within the US. And again, that land is your land. You have to pay taxes as well in these other countries. People don't realize it. You got to pay taxes there too. You got to pay taxes. Taxes is taxes. Taxes is just not a US concept. It's not
Well,
a US
I just think that if you're trying to, I don't know, I just think there's just better places to go in Africa where you're going to have a better quality of life. Things are going to be outright straightforward. So if you're worried about leaving the U.S., because that's fine, it's okay to leave the U.S., right?
Yeah.
But Africa definitely would not be my first choice.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking for people to not move. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is don't take the word of some of people that are content creators telling you how to acquire land, and then what happens is you get your money snatched from up under you, all the money you have, and you run it somewhere, and then you find out, wait a minute, these are the rules. We can just simply look it up. They say you do not own the land in
Yeah.
Tanzania.
But the
You
thing about Africa, man, it's just even finding lawyers who are legit, because even the lawyers will scam you.
Yeah.
It is you gotta like you gotta understand something. In on that side of Africa, it's really about working with people with personal relationships, people that you have known and trust for a while. And business is slow, and business is really about people you can trust that can introduce you to other people they trust. Because as a foreigner, you have no rights. I mean, I'm just going to keep it 100. As a foreigner, you're not going to have the same rights as the local person, regardless what they say, regardless whatever the court says. Right? They're going to look at you as a Mzungu. They're going to look at you as an outsider, and you're not going to get the same rights as the local
correct.
person.
So according to those several family members, do they own the land in Tanzania? because this came straight out of a citizen from Tanzania, that you don't own the land. They leasing the land. And then within that lease, I found out from her, they can kick you out of the land whenever they want. They can find a reason. And this is why they have to register it through a project. Now, this is just information from the site, y'all. It says, due to the complex nature of land laws in Tanzania, it is critical to consult with legal professionals and real estate experts who are knowledgeable about the process. They can guide you through the application process to ensure compliance with regulation and help you avoid potential pitfalls. I ain't telling y'all this. What this woman told me is the exact same thing that I'm seeing on this site. You don't own. You have to go through and invest. You can only obtain the rights to use it for investment purposes.
Right, but the thing is, you have to have a company, because if you don't have a company and you go there for investment purposes, you will still get denied. You must register a company.
Correct. So people going buying these lands through a third party, their friend. They do the same thing in Gambia. Let's look up Gambia. Let's look up Gambia. Uh,
Gambia, I don't know. I have no experience with Gambia. I just know Tanzania, Kenya, and South Africa, and China. Oh yeah, and why are you looking that up? In China, see, the thing about China is that from the first, people don't remember, but Trump put tariffs on China in the first administration. China began to move its operations around. So they have parts of factories in Vietnam, part of the factory in Mexico. Like, it's moved around a lot. So the tariffs is not hitting as hard as it was the first time around, because China has moved a lot of its factories and textiles abroad already, like made in Pakistan, made in Indonesia, right? They've
Yep.
already moved their factories abroad.
Yep. Yep.
Years ago.
So with the Gambian um, process, buying land in Gambia requires navigating a system that blends formal and customary practices. While foreigners can own land, they generally have leasehold terms, not freehold. A critical step involves the transfer of ownership form signed by all parties and witnesses, accompanied by the plot sketch plan. Local authorities like the Alcolo, which is the local chief, plays a significant role in the process. So there's a process even with that. It says that thorough research is critical. Understand the local laws, consult with experts, identify the land you want to purchase. This might involve working with the real estate agent and connecting directly with the local seller. Now, she told me be careful with that too, as well, because they be scammy as well. Thoroughly inspect the land, ensure it's free from dispute and meet your requirements. So I guess if it has any dispute, you really can't purchase it. Inquire about the ownership. Talk to the neighbors, the local chief. A transfer ownership form is the key document. This form, along with 6 plot sketch plans, should be signed by all parties involved, including buyer, seller, the chief, and relevant authorities.
Yeah.
If the land is jointly owned, consult from all owners, which is the chief as well, must be obtained in writing.
Rhonda, you can buy land, and that one is legitimate and upfront, right? It gives you clear guidelines. Kenya, you can buy property, but you can't buy, as a foreigner, you cannot buy agricultural land, but you can buy property as a farmer. So real estate, homes, houses, and stuff like that. You can buy that. But Rhonda, you can buy land, but you need witnesses, but it's straightforward.
Yep.
So outside of those two places, if people are selling you land, I would seriously don't do that.
I don't agree with that 99% 99-year policy. And it says if I die, the child will continue to have the land. So are you owning it or are you leasing the land according to?
Kenya, they only have that for
He's in
agricultural
Gambia.
land.
I think he's in Gambia. I'm just
For
wondering.
Gambia. Well, the thing about Gambia, that's not even a thing. Like you know that like they're targeting African Americans, right? There's been a slew of black women who've been mysteriously, passed away in the
I heard
Gambia.
that. And that's what the lady in Tanzania told me. She said it's a lot of murders out there.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people are being killed in Gambia.
Like Africa's not sweet like that. Like, we come over there and we think we're all no. Just like the Indians came over in their own communities and with their own muscle and stuff like that. Black people, FBA's got whatever ADOS has to move the same way. Africa's not sweet like that. It is not like that. Because either they look at you as a cash grab or they're going to resent you because now prices are going to become higher.
Yep.
Right? Because whenever foreigners move in, now the grocery stores charge 10%, 20% more because to us, that's nothing, right? We can still afford it. And rent becomes more expensive. Everything becomes more expensive. And then the local people begin to hate you. That's why it's better to do what the Chinese do, right? Kenya has a Chinatown where they move into and it's nothing but Chinese people in that whole area. So that they don't have no resentment for the locals. Then they have these restaurants, Chinese restaurants and stuff like that, where they all frequent. In Africa, you gotta move as a group. You gotta move as a group.
And I try not to be the one that pisses on everybody's parade. That's the best way I could put it. Because I know people look at me like that's the country I'm looking at right here is Gambia.
Yeah, the truth is the truth though.
Yeah, I try not to piss on everybody's parade. I'm gonna say it like that again because everybody is just. I'm the skeptic in the room. I'm gonna be asking questions that people ain't gonna want to hear because they gonna be excited. I try to get past the excitement and say, well, what you really talking about? And when I do that, people tend to take that I'm being difficult. I'm not being difficult. You're not finna scam me out of my money. And if you do, then I'm gonna lose it. So even with, I think in South Africa, it says yes, foreigners can own land in South Africa. There are no restrictions on foreign ownership of property. Non-residents can purchase land. However, you have to consider the legal and financial considerations to keep the land. Transfer duties. A tax on the purchased land ranges from 3% to 13%. Capital gain tax. So you're getting taxed there as well, y'all. I keep telling y'all, taxes ain't just a U.S. concept. They're going to tax you in Africa as well. Capital gain tax. Non-residents must pay a CGT when selling property, which is
What country is this?
This is South Africa. I'm gonna share.
Okay, South Africa. Okay, I don't know the tax rate, but I know the tax rate in Kenya is 30%, which is double the price. And then also you got to look at this as well. Some countries, kind of push you into owning a business with a local partner. For example, if you want to own your own business in Uganda and Kenya, $100,000 up front. If you want to own your own business in like Malaysia, $5,000. Right now, if you partner with a local Ugandan or local Kenyan, then it's much cheaper. But they need to have like 50%, and then your taxes go down. Right,
So
you got to look at that also. As a foreign company in Kenya, 30% tax off rip if I'm not doing a government project.
Yep. So you have to do the transfer tax, which is a tax of the purchase price ranging from 3 to 13%. You got the capital gain tax. Now, residents must pay the capital gain tax when selling property. Local account, you have to have an account. Mortgage options. Banks typically require higher deposit. So with that, you can actually go through, but even then, when I talked to the lady from Tanzania, she said you still have to follow up with the government. She said because what happens is you get with these real estate firms and you get with these shady lawyers, they take your money and leave you
Yep.
high and dry.
Yep.
And that's what she was telling me. She was like, she said, so many of your people come to Africa looking for a way out. And she said something that kind of stuck with me. She said, they're looking to escape something that coming to Africa is not going to save them from. She said they're looking to escape themselves sometimes. That's a one-time tax. I think that's what it looks like. Team Truth. It's a one-time tax. Uh, but with that being said, I'm only wanting to tell you all: be informed in what you're investing your money in. Do your due diligence on your own. Don't let nobody tell you something is going to be easy or let's go there and you don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
It's really
And
wild. I ain't rocking with a lot of things because you can't tell me one thing without me looking into it and saying, no, that's not what that says. And it's
and
not.
also and
Mhm.
also if you've done business before, okay, but if you haven't done business before, Africa is one hell of a learning curve to start there.
Yeah.
I would say start in the US. US is the easiest place to do business and start a business. It's the easiest. So do that, learn how to do that first if you haven't. And if you want to buy land and if you're just looking for better quality of life, you want to get rid of the racism and stuff like that, I promise you, Southeast Asia is just going to be better for you. Right? You'll live longer, you'll live peacefully by the beach, ocean, just chilling. And the
Yep.
Seychelles. And the Seychelles. I'm sorry, not Seychelles, in Mauritius. Mauritius in Africa, those small islands to the side, that place is cool too, just for quality of life. But outside of that, mm, Africa's not really is not really what you think it is. It's not Zion, right? It's not that.
Hold on, I'm
Oh,
looking up. So, so I know
so that
Nigeria is well another country that doesn't. I'm asking for a list of African countries that do not allow foreigners to buy land.
oh, I mean,
Nigeria
that's majority of Africa though. That's majority, right? It's better to type in foreigners can buy land, and the list would be shorter.
Oh, because it says Tanzania, Mozambique, Malawi,
In
Kenya,
Malawi,
Malawi, I'm sorry, Angola, South
yeah,
Sudan, and
yeah, it's majority of Africa. You can't. It's majority. So
yep.
it's easier just to type in places you can, and you get like 2 or 3 countries.
So I hate to piss on everybody's parade, but that's the only term I can use. Just do your due diligence, family. And I'm here only because right after I had that conversation with the lady who was the physical therapist is from Tanzania that works in the U.S. and sends her money to Africa and when she goes and invest and make changes to her property, she physically goes there, makes the changes to her property, and makes sure that whatever investment she want to put into her property, she does, and then she comes back to the U.S. to make her money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like yeah,
She
it's
comes
it's
back.
a it's a, it's a hard road, man. It's a hard road. It's Africa is a hard road. So
Yep. I wish we
yeah,
can get some people to go through each country and talk about the land requirement. Because somebody just said a few Africa countries that allow freehold property will run you $250,000 plus.
uh, no, no. I don't. No, that just might be until they got, but no. Like you can like for example, Rhonda, you can get spots for $8,000, $10,000 freehold. and Rhonda, you can definitely do that.
But do your
So
due
that-
diligence. I'll say
yeah.
this much. I'll never say don't go. I'll say just do your due diligence and figure out what's the best place. Because again, everybody was running to Tanzania. I remember that whole initiative. Run to Tanzania, Tanzania, Tanzania,
Okay, that
Tanzania.
was the COVID thing, right? The COVID regulations.
Yes.
They were, yeah, they was like the only ones not doing it. So
And
yeah.
then after you run to Tanzania, you figure out the property you buy, you don't own. And then you gotta go through the process of, if you want to invest in it, you have to go through the government to be able to do that and register the property that you're investing in through a project. So you have to have some type of project. Now, T3ME might be doing it that way, but I'm asking y'all this question: are you under their project? If you are, then technically that's still not your land. Possibly, it's still theirs. You
No,
have to.
it's not their land either. I don't know them, but there's been a lot of controversy lately. But it's not in Tanzania. You can't own land. Foreigners cannot own land. That's clearly
Yep.
stated. Foreigners cannot own land. So I don't know what they're advertising, but clearly foreigners cannot own land in Tanzania.
Yep. No, I think they're still in Tanzania. They're still. I think they're
Yeah,
still in
yeah,
Tanzania.
yeah.
I don't think they left.
No,
But
Journey with us left. T3 is still in Tanzania, from what I've seen. But the Millennium Farm and stuff like that, farm like either they have a so most likely what they did was start a company, and that company has a 99-year lease on it.
yep. If you feel good about, I can will my property to my daughter. Great example, my mother. And my mother, we've been living in that house. Let's add this up. So my mom has had this house for 40 years. My mama moved in that house back in 1988. No, 19. When was I 8 years old? I think 1984 we moved into that house. There's 40 years already gone. And let's say Madison, my daughter, I take the land. She wills it to me. And it's at a 40-year mark now. I keep it for 20 years. And then I pass on. Let's say I pass on next 40 years. Let's say I keep it for another 40 years. I want to live a long time. Another 40 years, that's 80 years already gone. I will that to Madison. Madison has what? 19 years in that property. 99 years isn't that far down. 19 years. So let's say, well, you know what? Yeah, I take the property now. Say I take the property now. I'm 48. I keep the property and I pass away at 88, 90 years old. That's 40 years gone. Bam, that's 80 years off the rip, already gone.
But that's not.
Huh?
Go ahead, go ahead. But I mean, that's not really the issue for me. That wouldn't be the issue.
No,
The
I'm talking
issue
about
is
someone who says they can will it down to their children or keep the property. And let's say I keep it and Madison keep it, and then I think
yeah, but that's not really the issue. See, you got to understand something. Africa's infrastructure and development is not that great. So if Sister E takes that land, develops it, turns it into a commercialized farm or whatever, when she goes back to the government to reapply, they're going to say no because they're going to take it.
dang. So really it's not 99 years.
Right. But that's the point, right? You're developing, and after you develop, if you do such a good job, then they're going to take it from you because it's not like when China goes over there and do a project. China says, "I'll do this project for you, and if you fall on it, I'm going to take this resource from you." Right? And if not, then I got guns. Right? I got guns. Right? So, but when we go over there, we all we have is the legal court system. That's from them. So the thing about it is, see, I think people are not look. They're very short sighted. When you go over there and you say you start a farm, right, or you build some factory and things like that. Even when you get to the 99 mark, they can say, "Well, I'm not going to. We're going to keep it now."
Yep.
because it employs people. It's a money maker. It's an asset. So no, we're not going to give you the land back. We're going to keep it now.
So that means your grandchildren couldn't. If let's say we follow the where I went, that means your grandchildren
Yeah,
can't benefit.
cannot benefit from your hard work. Yeah.
That means your hard work is down the toilet, pretty much. You invested and you've made money, but the thing is, guess what? That's gone. That's pretty much gone. And you ain't gonna get your money back. They ain't giving you your money back. They probably gonna take your assets. They gonna take everything. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
like,
So
you
I mean,
didn't.
that's the point. That's the point because if you like, for example, if you buy the land, you put a house on it, you could most likely they'll let you pass it down. Honestly, most likely you will apply. But now, if that thing is making money, you're employing people, and it's developed, man, that they taking it.
Now you said Gambia. Like I said, the lady from Tanzania told me that they have a significant. They're experiencing a concerning rise in murder and overall violent crimes, raising
Yeah.
public and political concern. This is despite claims that the country has a low crime rate in West Africa, which contradicts reports of increased criminal activities. Factors contributing to includes socioeconomic challenges like unemployment and poverty, as well as the influences of criminal networks. She mentioned those criminal networks. She said sometimes they be over there, people be over there and a part of those drug cartels. They have their own little drug cartels. Some suggest that the government's response has been inadequate and concerns of law enforcement effectiveness and lack of comprehension is the security framework. So with that being said, the first thing she said, be careful if you're looking at Gambia, because she called out Gambia. And you notice before he said Gambia, just so y'all can know, before he said Gambia, I had already said the lady told me that Gambia has a very high murder rate, especially with foreigners. She said that in fact they target foreigners when they know that you are a foreigner. Now I don't know what your friends are doing according to, but this is what the person who's from that land told me. She mentioned Nigeria. She said stay far away from Nigeria. I think everybody knows that. She said don't go over there. She said those guys are scammers over there. So this lady's just giving me play by play with certain ones that she know of. So take it however
The
y'all
safe,
want to take. Huh?
the safe spot. If the safe spot is Rwanda, because they have really done a lot legally, and you can research this on your own. They've done a lot legally to minimize corruption. So if you're trying to go to Africa, you're trying to look for a safe spot to land where not a lot of corruption, and you're going to be treated fairly under the law, it will be Rwanda. That is the only place that I would say that that the law will matter in Africa.
So read this. He said even Gambians have their land for 99 years. I know because my son-in-law is Gambian and I have my first-hand information from it. So why would you want to go to a country where even the Gambians can only have
Right.
their land for 99 years?
Right. And remember that you're a foreigner, even like because even in China, foreigners don't get the same rights as the locals here.
Yeah, they
And
do. And in fact, uh-huh.
China's a pretty safe place. It's probably one of the safest places in the world that I've ever been to. But you still don't get the same rights as
And-
locals.
Yes, you do. And in fact, what's interesting is, so he says even Gambians have their land for 99 years. That's asinine to me that I'm going to, even as a citizen, I don't even own the land. It doesn't make sense. Is he saying that they're leasing the land for 99 years and then they have to give it up? I can pass my mom's property down from me to my daughter, and my daughter can pass it down to her daughter and can pass it down to her. Now, keep in mind, you do have to pay your taxes. You do have to pay property taxes, but there are benefits.
Inheritance tax. Right? There's an inheritance tax.
Yeah, your
You have to
heritage.
pay the inheritance tax. Yeah.
Yep, you do have to pay. I forgot about the heritage tax. But you gotta pay taxes on your car. You gotta pay taxes on everything. Being honest here.
Yes.
Tax is something you can't avoid. But even other countries have their own form of taxation. Just keep that in mind. But with that being said, I sneeze. I'm sorry, y'all. But with that being said, you said something that made a lot of sense, and I said that earlier. She told me out of her mouth. She said, "Now, if you're getting investing property and your husband is because I told her about the time I was dating this Liberian guy. He said she looked at me like Liberians are they don't even look at Liberians as true Africans. Some of them don't. But with that being said, she said when you have a husband that is God dated, he told me about that as well. But if you have a husband that's a citizen of their land, it's easy for you then because they're citizens and you can their husband knows the land, knows the process. Usually in some cases it's given to you through your husband, and one way or another she explained it like that. It's much easier when you're married to somebody. But even your mindset is an American ownership mindset. Why would I not want to own my land? Why would I want to rent something for 99 years and then have to hand it over to the government? What if I
Yeah, I
want to?
mean,
That's stupid. What's
especially
wrong with
especially
ownership? That's what I can't understand.
especially because Africa is so underdeveloped. You know, when you start developing stuff, they're going to start repossessing
That's
after leasing you up. And even though Rwanda is 99 years, they do give a fair shot. I would say they do give a fair shot. But again, most governments around, even China, right, is um 99, and then you have to reapply again here in China. Most countries in the East are like that. You can't own your own land. It belongs
if
to the
you're a
government.
foreigner.
In the eastern side of the world, Eastern Hemisphere. No. Even Chinese cannot own land in China.
Somebody said they may have to find them a native spouse. She told me it's a racket with that. Me and her had multiple conversations. She said, be careful with that as well. You marry somebody, they get their citizenship and then bounce on you.
Yeah, like you wanna own your
So
own thing.
lease is ownership. Ownership is leasing. Leasing and ownership are not the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just depends. Communist countries in the East, no one can own the land, not even the locals. So it's just the locals have to deal with it because that's what the hand they're dealt. But as Americans, you don't have to. You can go other places to own them. You can go to Europe or whatever, or just buy in America if you want.
So I'm gonna settle for going somewhere and leasing something for 99 years, and I'm wrong for thinking that the concept of ownership because I'm from America is wrong.
It's not wrong.
That's asinine when people say stuff like that. Like, just admit it. You're willing to take the cost of taking, going there and leasing the land rather than me, who said I'm not going to lease anything. I'm not going to sell my mother's property. That's probably it's probably worth $300,000 to $400,000, and that's my property. And then I take it and give another country that money, and then they tell me I don't own it.
So
It's just like me leaving a good job with benefits where I'm a full-time employee and said, I'm gonna quit this job because I'm irritated and I'm gonna take a contract position. I don't know if I'm gonna keep the job, but I'm gonna leave that and I'm gonna just take this contract position. That doesn't make sense to me.
Whatever you do not sell your home to move to Africa. That is
People,
the absolute worst thing in the world you could do.
people
That
are
is
doing
the
that.
you rent it, you rent that thing out, you keep that money because the thing about it is, right, there's no jobs in Africa, and because there's no jobs in Africa, there's no customer base. So a lot of times, see, you got to understand something. We as Americans are used to selling something to a consumer because we're a large consumer base. We're the largest consumers in the world, right? The average American consumes 9 times more than any other person on the earth, right? So you can't just go to Africa and be like, okay, I'm going to go to Kenya and I'm going to sell cakes. there's not enough people to for your company to thrive like that. You need income from outside. That's why when YouTubers keep talking about coming to invest, but they're making YouTube videos every single day, is because that's their mode of income. Is YouTube. They're not making money from the projects that they're doing. Because if they wouldn't be doing them any. They would be doing the project, right? So at the end of the day, you gotta kind of sit back and think and not make emotional decisions, right? I know it's nice to live in a place where everybody looks like you, but number one, they don't speak the same language as you. Number two, they think totally different than you. Just because we look the same, we are very, very different. The way we think, the way we act, the way we respond to things, we're very, very different. So now in Kenya, can you buy apartments and own them? Yes, you can. But can you own the land on it? No, you cannot. But you can, like real estate and investing in apartments there. Can you own it? Yes, absolutely yes. So if you want to do that type of real estate business, then go ahead and do that. But land itself, no, you can't. So that's my 2 cents. So all right, Sissy, I'm gonna head out. I have some things I need to do. And thank you for allowing me to come up, and I hope I was able to help. Hello, Sissy, are you on mute?
But I mean, that's all we're doing is trying to keep everybody informed. Nobody is saying don't leave the country. Let me say it in the background. Nobody is saying that. What we're saying is we're redirecting the conversation to say, do your own due diligence, do your own research, figure out, get your own attorney. Because if I'm selling my $300,000 property just to move somewhere, I don't have a problem about spending a couple of $1,000s on an attorney to give me legal advice rather than listening to a content creator who's never worked in no form of real estate law, who doesn't understand foreign laws, to tell me to give them my money to come to their property to live or to invest in a plot of land that it's theirs. When you figure out when you get there, that's not the case. That means that $300,000 is gone down the toilet. And I'm being very generous with the amount of money. Some people are losing, they losing $50,000, $60,000. Ain't nothing wrong with doing your own due diligence. And that's all I'm saying. When she said that to me, she kept saying, she said, I'm not telling you not to come. She said, I'm telling you to do your research. Do your research. Don't plan to come and know that. She said, and then visit the location for about a year. She said, learn the area. Figure out what's the best area. You don't know nothing about the area. Great example. I moved to New York. Didn't understand the demographics of Brooklyn. Moved into the first apartment that accepted me and ended up in a nightmare for 2 years. That apartment I had in New York, the first one I had, I didn't like it. It was too small. It was cramped. Then I talked to somebody who was a native of New York. They said, go get pre-war apartments. Do not get these brand new cookie cutter apartments, because what you're going to get is a small apartment with higher rent. Do your research. This is just in the US. Lived here for 2 years and figured out the areas that people told me to stay away from. I looked at the areas and said, these areas are fine. They're not bad at all. And ended up getting a pre-war apartment where I got like 2 stories. Now keep in mind, we got family investments at home. So we have property at home. Or I want to leave and go back to Memphis. I can easily go into one of our houses and do. But just think, if I said, okay, I do the same thing. My mom gives me all the property and everything, every investment she has. I say, I'm going to cash this investment out and move to Africa, and I haven't done my due diligence. That's a greater loss. So that's all I'm saying is do your due diligence. And it may not be Africa. Like hot sauce. Hot sauce is in China. I'm not knocking what hot sauce is doing. And I ain't telling hot sauce he wrong. Go back to Africa. I ain't telling nobody to do that. Do what's best for you.
Yeah, like again, like if you, it depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for peace of mind, escape from racism, stuff like that, I don't think Africa's gonna do that for you, in my opinion. So you just gotta be clear what you want to do. But anyway, I need to head out, and thank you, Sister E, for the time, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right, y'all. Well, I had a good time. Um, I am sleepy and I'm tired. Um, Again, y'all, understand that do your due diligence. That's all I'm saying. Do your own research. Look into it for yourself. Make the decision not because of what someone told you, but what you've done as far as your research. Research isn't just looking online. Research is visiting the land and not just going for a one-time visit. She said you need to go 6 or 7 times. She said go for a couple of years and scan the areas and see what is best suited for you. Meet some people, meet some locals there, talk to them, build relationships. Don't just run over there and say, "Oh, I'm in the homeland," and then the homeland smacks the brakes off you, and you standing there broke, busted, disgusted, can't get back home. All this stuff happens, y'all. I've heard numerous horror stories, y'all, and every horror story starts with, "I wanted to go back to my homeland, so I sold all my goods and my properties, and took my money and ran over there." That's how it always starts, y'all. And it ends with them saying, "I've lost everything and now I'm stuck here. I'm stranded here." So, all right, y'all. Well, I'm going to go to bed. I've enjoyed this conversation. Do your due diligence. If you're looking at moving to Gambia, look at Gambia. Do your research. If you're looking to move to Kenya, look into it. South Africa, look into it. Tanzania, which I would say be very careful with that, but look into it. Look into each country. Find other countries. You ain't got to go with everybody because everybody's running to one location. Heck, you might find some better opportunities in Morocco. I don't know. You may find some better opportunities. Yeah, Morocco's in Africa. You may find some better opportunities in Egypt. You may find some better opportunities for land in other areas. I'm just using these. I don't know what their land requirements are, but you may find other places that are better in Africa. Look into those. Don't go with what everybody else telling you. Go do your own due diligence and make sure you're going for the right reasons. Don't go because you're scared of what's going to happen here, because what's going to happen here is going to happen all over the world. Don't let nobody fear monger you. I'm going to keep saying this. Yeah, I heard Egypt is tough. Yeah, I'm just using that as an example. I would like to go visit Egypt because I want to go see the pyramids. If everything wasn't going so bad, I would try to make that one of my trips later on in the next 6 months, because I would love to see the pyramids. I want to see the pyramids so bad. But with that being said, y'all, just do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. So, all right, family. Love y'all. And I will see y'all this week. I might do something tomorrow, depending on how I feel. So, I keep y'all posted on my mother. Thank y'all. Have a blessed evening.
All different type of information every week. Let me speak. If you subscribe, we're going deep. Love talk, Sista E. God's work, Sista E. Charity, Sista E. Let's talk with Sista E. All different type of information every week. Let me speak. If you subscribe, we're going deep. Love talk, Sista E. God's work, Sista E.